Ukraine has no future, but not in the way that has been fed to you by the media. When reading this video's title, most of you probably thought that it will be another clickbait frontline analysis talking about how Ukraine is doomed militarily. Well, no. Today I will be discussing the critical state of the country overall. Because you see, the war is distracting people from Ukraine's internal issues that need to be discussed. Ukraine has had a massive demographic problem since the fall of the USSR. They have been hit by a perfect storm, with birth rates collapsing and a huge emigration due to economic problems. This caused the population of Ukraine to shrink from nearly 52.18 million at its peak in 1993 to 43.8 in 2021, before the invasion started. But the population didn't only shrink, but also age. In 2021, the recorded median age was 41 years old, with the population pyramid looking something like this. As you can see, there is a population bulge in the age range between 30 and 50. There also is a massive drop-off in people under the age of 30, which aligns with the fall of the USSR and collapsing of the birth rates. As you can probably tell, the demographic situation in Ukraine was not great even before the war started. So then, what happens when you take the last few years into consideration? Well, the situation goes from bad to an absolute disaster. The population in the land controlled by Kiev in 2024 stands at a depressing 31.1 million. That's 21 million less than its peak and 12.7 million less than at the start of the war. Out of these 12.7 million, 9.5 million emigrated, and the rest either live in Russian-controlled land, died in combat, or died of other causes. But the true severity of this problem is not really in the size of the population, but the structure. The Ukrainian birth rate per woman in 2023 was 0.7. Yes, you heard me right, 0.7. That's on par with South Korea, the country with the worst birth rate in the world. But wait, it gets worse. Now I will show you the 2023 population pyramid and you'll get it right away. Exactly. It is shaped like a Pixar mom. The demographic between 20 and 30 years old is nearly non-existent. Let that sink in. The generation that is supposed to have children is nearly non-existent. And you know what that implies, right? That the generation down here, Gen Alpha, will be negligibly small. And projecting this graph into the future, assuming a birth rate of 0.7, will give us something like this. As you can see, Gen Z is the last Ukrainian generation. Even with a post-war baby boom, which is unlikely, Ukraine won't be able to get out of its demographic coffin. The only thing that might improve the situation is re-immigration of Ukrainians that escaped the war, which is getting more and more unlikely by the day. As the war drags on, the people that left Ukraine get more and more entrenched in their host country. But the problems the Ukrainians are facing are not only demographic. Another issue is that of the economy. Reuters says that Ukrainian heavy industries are decimated. Agriculture exports are also down significantly from the start of the war. That is 17%, which is a big problem since it is the most important sector in the Ukrainian economy. The real threat to Ukraine may seem like Russia at first glance, but if you dig deeper, you realize that it is really the country's internal problems, which the invasion just amplified tenfold. At this point in time, the longer the war drags on, the worse the economic situation will get, while the demographics are already past the point of no return. So then, should Ukraine step to the negotiating table with the Kremlin? Well, the answer isn't clear here either. You see, if Ukraine goes to the negotiating table with Putin, it will need to accept some demands that are very damaging to its future prospects, like the demand of throwing away NATO and EU aspirations, which is very bad for Ukraine's future for one main reason. It will effectively turn it into a fence-sitter state with no direction. It won't be able to integrate with the EU and other Western institutions, nor will it integrate in Russian trade institutions. This fence sitting will also generate the exact same political instability we saw before the war began, like the 2014 coup. This instability will drastically limit the amount of people immigrating into the country, and therefore reinforcing the demographic decline. So basically, this decision is a catch-22 for Kiev. If they continue fighting, they get population collapse and economic decay. If they negotiate, they will also get population collapse and economic decay. Ukraine is in serious trouble, and it's about time for us to recognize this. Except for the fact that what I said here is completely wrong. Remember, kids, Ukraine is big, strong, and will destroy bad Russia. Oh, and also, like and subscribe if you don't want a PLA airstrike sent to your house. Trust me, I've contacted